This is my first car. Hannah is a 2013 Hyundai Accent hatchback. 80,000 miles when I got her for the low price of $1,500 from my sister. I bought Hannah because I thought I was getting a great deal on her, and I bought her with the intention that I was eventually going to sell her for profit, and I am. Hannah's taught me something very important over these past 9 months of owning and driving her. Something that I already knew in my mind, but I now truly and fully understand in my heart. I absolutely hate having a car, and I absolutely love riding my bike instead. I just want to be clear that even though I'm clearly and obviously a bike person to the bone, that doesn't mean I want everybody to give up cars forever. I do still see value in having a car, and this isn't a personal attack on anybody if you do love driving a car. All I'm saying is I've had my first car for the past 9 months. Yes, my first car at the ripe young age of 26, and I just cannot wait to get rid of it. For me, a car really gets in the way of how I want to live my life, and a bike really helps me become the person I want to be and helps me live the life that I want to live. And speaking of bikes that help me live the way that I want to live because they're paying my bills, this video is sponsored by Wabi Cycles. If you're looking to cop yourself a Wabi special, you're in luck because finally we have some good news. Wabi specials are back in stock. You can go to Wabi's website right now and order the same bike that's so good, it's the only bike that I own. Wabi Classics, their most popular model, are also expected to be in stock by the end of this month. Or if you're looking for their top tier Columbus Spirit, which is some of the lightest steel tubing that money can buy, they're in stock right now, and you can just hop on over to the website and get one if you want. Check out Wabi Cycles, linked in the description. Hannah has told me that cars are really freaking expensive. I'm sure you're all well aware of this fact, but gas is really dang expensive. And when you consider the fuel cost for a bike, it's like, I can go probably 60 miles on a single burrito, and I need 2 to 2.5 gallons of gas to go 60 miles in my car. Like, I'm taking the bike all the way, 60 miles per burrito, let's go. And then there's just like the constant expenses and headache of just owning a car. The entire auto industry is meticulously designed to squeeze as much money as possible from the consumer, and a lot of times you're getting ripped off, and I'm just not about that. It seems like the only way that you can have a car and not get utterly ripped off through the nose is to repair it yourself or to know somebody who is extremely trustworthy and they give you a good deal on working on your car. It really wears you down, from $80 oil changes to having to replace air filters, which I did myself, which is incredibly easy because a dealership or a car mechanic wanted like $50 just to pop out a little box for an air filter, to $200 to $300 brake pad replacements. Just like super basic consumable stuff is incredibly expensive. And at every step of the way, whenever you're interacting with a quote professional with a car, they're going to try to rip you off as much as possible. I don't have a good mechanic, and I don't want to learn how to be a car mechanic. So I watch Scotty Kilmer, but I'm not about that life. I found a buyer for this car, rather the buyer found me, and she wanted to have the car brought to professionals to have it diagnosed, to see everything that is wrong with the car so that she knows she's not getting ripped off. Excellent. She didn't find a super good place to get it checked out. We took it to a Chevy dealership, and you know about dealerships, if you have a car, they will most likely rip you off. Sorry if you work at a car dealership, but you know what you're doing, and I know what you're doing. We're all on the same page. And they documented the chrome on the plastic handles, like, oh, this is chipping off. And guess how much they wanted to fix the stupid chrome plastic on the door handles? Leave it in the comments. We'll see if you're right. I'll tell you how much. It was $500 for stupid plastic to change out a door handle. How insane is that? They also wanted $50 to change a light bulb. How many car mechanics does it take to change a light bulb? On top of that, unless you get an extremely good deal on your car, it is depreciating value. Every day you're losing money on the value of the car. A lot of people think that, oh, after I buy my car, the only expense I really have is gas. That is just flat out incorrect, and you're bad at money if you think that. Between depreciation, maintenance, registration costs, gas, insurance, and there's probably a whole laundry list of other expenses that I'm not listing off of the top of my head, the average price of a car in the United States is about $10,700 per year. I got a good deal on my car, and I put my numbers through the calculator, and I'm spending about $5,700 per year just to own and use the car, the very small amount that I use it. I thought I got a good deal on the car, but unless you're a professional and you really know what you are doing, you are getting bled dry. If you want a really good video on the true cost of car ownership, you can check out this City Nerd video. He's this channel that I just found, and I've binge watched all of his videos. He talks a lot about city planning, transportation, and quality of life stuff, and he does a really thorough and great breakdown up here. To put into perspective how darn expensive it is to own a car, one of the biggest problems with my millennial generation and generations following us is that we are freaking broke. And one of the problems associated with being broke are incredibly low rates of home ownership. And generally that's a bad thing, because if you can't buy the place that you're living in, all you're doing by paying rent, most likely you're just making someone else rich. Just by selling my car for $7,000, that is enough for me to place a down payment on a 2-bedroom apartment in Chicago, which is where I want to move. Just by selling my car, I can stop being poor. I'm not really like poor, I'm like middle class, but by selling my car, I can be more middle class and not like lower middle class. Doesn't seem like a bad deal to me. The second reason I'm going back to the car-free bike life is that I absolutely hate driving. It always puts me in a bad mood. Now, a lot of people think, oh, when you buy a car, it opens up the world to you because you have so much more opportunity to go places and do things that you want to do. True. But for me, because I hate driving so much, say if I wanted to go hike, like a 3-4 hour drive away from my house at beautiful Yosemite National Park. That could be, at best for me, like a 9 out of 10 experience. But if I'm the one driving, it always puts me in a bad mood. It always makes me pissy and angry. At the very least, it's going to knock 20% off of my enjoyment of that trip. I mean, just last week, my girl and I, we drove an hour and a half from here in East Lansing, Michigan to Detroit to see John Mayer live. And I would have enjoyed it a lot more if I didn't have to drive. It was super rainy that day, and because the snow was melted, they're doing a ton of construction. I could barely see like 10, 20 feet ahead of me. It was so dark and rainy, and I was just thinking, am I going to die just because I want to see John Mayer play a guitar? And then there's also the not so irrational fear that I'm going to die in a car accident. I am in a tiny car. If my tiny car is going up against one of these SUVs or pickup trucks behind me, I'm probably going to get hurt a whole lot more than they are. I hate to say it, most people are really bad drivers. Maybe not you, maybe not me, but most people out on the road are really bad drivers and endanger the lives of everybody around them whenever they get behind the wheel of a vehicle and decide to look at their phone to find the ideal song for their commute to work. Or when they decide to get behind the wheel of a vehicle because they don't want to call an Uber after they've stumbled out with their shirt half tucked in out of the bar. I have been in a car accident. And luckily, me and my family were not injured in that car accident, and it was definitely not our fault. My dad was in a car accident which totaled his 2008 Honda Civic. God rest that car's soul. My mom was rear-ended on the highway in a hit and run and suffered from neck pain for months after. Driving a car is the most dangerous thing that anybody does in their life. And you may think that, oh, well, riding a beautiful purple Wabi Special. Yep, that's a sure is a good bike. Is probably a lot scarier than driving in a car. And you're probably at a bigger risk when you're riding a bike. But just based on how I feel about driving and based on how much I love biking, I'm having so much fun on my bike when I'm riding it that I don't even care if I die while I'm riding my bike, because at least I'll die doing what I love. And on top of that, on a bike, if you're in a bike lane, all you have to do is, for the most part, worry about one lane of stupid drivers. When you're in a car, you have to worry about all the lanes of stupid drivers, including the ones ahead of you and behind you. I just feel safer when I'm on a bike. And for some reason, cars have this magical ability to turn just about everybody, even the nicest grandma on the road, into absolute sociopaths that will murder you because you decided to brake at a yellow light. That's not the kind of person that I want to be, and that's not the kind of people that I enjoy interacting with. And that's pretty much all I get when I'm in a car. I come in peace, geese. Don't bother me and I won't bother you. On top of that, I don't really need a car. I am so used to doing everything I need to on my bike and going everywhere I need or even reasonably want to go on my bike that I don't need a car. The main reason I drive my car is because I already have it and I can't let it sit for too long or else the battery's gonna die. And I also feel like because I'm spending all this money on the car, I feel somewhat obligated to drive it. I'm not driving it because I actually need it or because I actually enjoy it. I'm just driving it because it's there and I'm wasting all this money on it whether I'm driving it or not. And it just feels like I'm wasting less money on it if I drive it. It's actually kind of pathetic how having this car has changed my behavior, because before, when I would just be, car-free bike life, there's just no question. Like, I get on my bike and I ride, and it made me into a really strong rider. But now, just to get groceries, I live half a mile from Whole Foods. It's just down the street. And I could totally ride my bike. I could walk and get groceries. It's so easy. But just because driving a car is that little bit easier, I just don't get groceries on my bike anymore. I drive half a mile down the street to get eggs from Whole Foods. Like, it's ridiculous. From my perspective, if a place is only accessible by a car, for me, it's not really worth going to. And don't get me wrong, I love traveling and taking trips, but there's just something that's super different between traveling in a car versus traveling on a bike. And in life, you could either experience a lot of things shallowly or a few things really deeply. And it comes down to what kind of life do you want to live. And for me, I would much rather experience a few things but at a much deeper level than experiencing a lot of things at a very shallow surface level. And the car for me is definitely experiencing a lot of things at a very shallow surface level. You could go a lot of places, but getting there, you don't really experience anything. But on a bike, it's totally different. Yes, it takes a lot of time. Yes, it takes a lot more effort. But because of that, it makes traveling on a bike a whole lot more fulfilling. Like, what's the point of driving all the way across the country if you're not actually experiencing any of the country? And I will concede that there are times where cars make the most sense. There are times where I will need a car, but that doesn't mean I need to own a car. There's plenty of other solutions than paying a ridiculous amount of money on something that I barely even use and that makes me more depressed. There's short-term car rentals like Zipcar. I live in the United States. Everybody has a car. I have friends. If I really need a car, I'll just be like, hey, I'm a good driver. Can I borrow your car for an afternoon? It's not a big deal not having a car. Having a car, it makes me ride my bike less just because it's there. It's easier. It makes me into a person that I don't want to be with a lifestyle that I don't want. It makes me a pissy, short-tempered, moody person that is sedentary and short on money. So that's why I'm selling my car and I'm going back to the carefree, car-free lifestyle. And Fixie famous shoutouts to Brent David, Zane Kolnik, Brandon Black, Julian Corona, Mohr, Perez, Gio Dezera, Scott Palangi, and David K for helping to make these videos possible through the support on Patreon. And remember that life is short, but don't make it shorter, so be sure to ride your bike every day to be reasonably dangerous.